Okay. We've had some press reports over here about apparently an illness you've had. I don't want to get too personal or anything, but there are a lot of fans over here that are very concerned. And,
it's nothing lower than the pubic region. Yeah, we were touring around, and basically it was like several things. I picked up some sort of stomach bug in Italy, I think, and that made gigging rather difficult. And I think I've been doing too much gigging or whatever in any case, and I think I had when touring the States in '79, I had a bit of a nervous breakdown, and I had another one again earlier on this year. So that for me, that really said, you know, stop touring because it's not doing you any good. And I think Colin, the bass player, doesn't enjoy touring in any. Well, he's told me he doesn't enjoy touring in any case, and Dave isn't too fussed. So the only one that was really upset was Terry, I think.
Mm-hmm. And what exactly about touring that doesn't agree with you?
Oh, all sorts. I was vegetarian and I wasn't eating anything because you just can't eat anything on the road because all you get is burgers, burgers, burgers if you're lucky, or a bowl of cornflakes, you know, if you arrive too late somewhere. I just don't like being away from my wife for like some 2 or 3 months at a time or whatever. You know, I just get very lonely. And I don't enjoy traveling in any case. I'd much rather being in a place, and touring is all traveling. You don't meet anybody. All you see is, you know, dressing rooms and hotel rooms, and you're sat there on your own, and it's just very lonely, very depressing life. It's like a traveling prison sentence, really.
So does this mean a sort of a permanent end to any touring activities?
More or less, yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean that we won't play one-off gigs now and then, but really, it's almost anti-playing on stage as well for me. I much rather enjoy the studio. I think that's infinitely more creative. Well, it is actually the bed of creation. As far as I'm concerned, when you're on stage, it's reproducing over and over again for the audience's benefit.
So if you were to, let's just say you were to stop touring altogether, would that, do you think you'd increase your output of records?
Most probably, yeah. Yeah,
like
and other things as well. I'd like to do other projects. I've just done some film music for a short English film, which is acted entirely underwater. The working title was Liquid Dream, but it since hasn't had its proper title put onto it yet. But I did the film music for that, which is all voices and synthesizers. And I'd like to have a go at writing a musical, a real corny family musical, you know, in the kind of South Pacific vein, something like My Fair Lady, something like that.
Has that always been one of your greater influences about sort of the theater?
Sorry, did you say musicals?
Yeah, musicals in the theater or musical comedy.
Yeah, I always have a lot of LPs of soundtracks and things of films and musicals around the house, and I just fancied really doing the kind of the storytelling and making it a continuous story that ran through the music, and making it not for any specific age group, so it was just somebody that it was something that people of all ages could listen to, whether it be kids or old people or anything. I just fancied doing that. It's one of my little pet things that have been niggling for a few years, and I'd like to try and see if I can work it out. I might not even be able to work it out, but it's something that I'd like to have a go at. And I think that instead of wasting time sitting in holiday inns the world over, you know, I could be constructing more, doing more useful things.
Would that be completely a solo thing, or do you have a writing partner?
Would I do the musical solo?
I mean, if you were to write the music for something like that, would you be doing it all alone, or do you have a partner you'd be working with?
With the music for the film, I did all on my own, because that was like lots of improvised stuff and things that I'd worked out previously myself. I don't actually write music, so I have to use tape recorders and memory and notes and things like that. But I think with a kind of a really straight musical score, I'd have to use an arranger and a music writer. But I think I'd like to do the lyrics and the musical ideas all myself.
That sounds quite intriguing. Getting back to the cancellation of the U.S. tour, though, which I believe was the last time you toured, that must have had a bad effect on the success of the
well, we
group.
just seem to have been touring around solid since 1977, non-stop, you know. And as I said, it's a kind of the only enjoyable bit is really being on the stage and having a workout. It's the same sort of thing you'd get if you went and had a damn good workout in the gym, you know. That's the kind of the physical joy, and there's a kind of 5 minutes at the end of it egotistical joy where you can say, oh, they're clapping for me, and how fab, and then it all goes, and then you're stuck in your hotel room, you know, out in the middle of end of the universe, Wyoming somewhere, and you think, God, what am I doing here? I don't live here. I don't enjoy being in this room on my own. You know, I just got very lonely, and I don't enjoy partying or anything to do with the rock and roll lifestyle. I think that is just, it's just not me. So it was inevitable that I, you know, began to get more and more discontented with touring around.
Well, how have you been spending your time since leaving the road?
Well, I had a little period where I did nothing at all and tried to forget things, and then I more or less got back into writing material for the group again. And right now we're a week away from recording our 6th album. So all the stuff that I did earlier on in the year is going to come out on that album.
So you were just practicing with the group and composing songs during this...
That's right, yeah. Terry was away in Australia, and it's actually it's red hot news, but he's since left the band.
Oh.
We're stripped down to a kind of a 3-piece with revolving 4th member at the moment. I could get into that, I suppose. Yeah, during rehearsals, we've recently been rehearsing in the past 4 or 5 weeks for this material for this new album. And Terry didn't seem to have his heart in it. Wasn't remembering what he was doing, wasn't thinking, was very miserable. He just put his sticks down halfway through a song and said, look, I don't really want to do this anymore. Gave us a multitude of reasons, everything from I'm totally fed up with music, to I want to go and live in Australia, and your songs stink and I can't really play the drums, I've been fooling people all these years. You know, he gave us 1,000,001 excuses, none of which I think are totally true. It's just a tiny fraction of each one.
What do you think his real reason was for leaving the band?
Sorry?
What do you think his real reason was for leaving the band?
I think in a way, a lot of it is one of the things he hinted at was that he was sick of struggling, and I think it just weighed him down that he wasn't, you know, he was being known as a kind of a, well, I know it sounds stupid, but a sort of a cult figure in really obscure places around the world, and he was getting no reward other than the kind of joy of doing it, because we're not making any money doing this. So I think he was like almost sick of struggling, if you see what I mean. It came to a point where he just didn't want to struggle anymore.
Well, what's he going to be doing from here on in?
Well, he's completely given up drumming, and as far as I know, he's going to go and work in Australia. Could be doing anything from kind of labouring to running after sheep to anything. I don't really know.
Well,
he doesn't really have any kind of other interests other than like really physical things. You know, that's why he was a drummer. He would have been a footballer if he'd have followed that, because he's very physical, you know.
It just seems so unbelievable because he was so good. I was always amazed at his drumming work. I don't want to.
He was very innovative in a way that he couldn't. He was not very good at keeping time. It was just the stamina that kept him going. And he was kind of like a very berserk drum box. You could suggest to him things, the most ludicrous suggestions, and he'd get them into his head and then lock onto the pattern. And then he'd just go round and round in these kind of cyclical shapes, just going round and round and round. The most ludicrous things that gave him fun to do. They're almost like physical, like a sort of, how shall I say, like kind of acrobatics with sticks in his hands.
It's absolutely amazing. I don't want to dwell on this because I'd like to hear a lot more about your own activities, but that's just absolutely amazing.
We've since found a replacement, actually, which is nearly quite as bizarre. In fact, in a way, it's even more bizarre. We're doing the album with